Hello, and thank you for joining me for this year's City of Millbrae State of the City Address. I would like to take this time to recognize my colleagues on the Millbrae City Council, Vice Mayor Annie Oliva, Council Member Gina Pappen, Council Member Anders Fung, and Council Member Ruben D. Hulliver. I would like to thank and recognize those who have served in the past and who continue to serve the city in various capacities today. In addition, I want to recognize Tom Williams, Millbrae City Manager, and all of our city staff. They have continued to go above and beyond this past year to get us through the COVID-19 pandemic, to protect and improve our community, and ensure Millbrae stays a great place to live. We might be a small city, but we are mighty. I also want to thank Millbrae Community Television for hosting this year's State of the City Address and their continued work to help our community stay informed on city affairs. While 2020 was an extremely difficult year, 2021 brought new opportunities for us to grow and overcome the adversities from the year before. While declines in the hospitalization rates allow the easing of shelter-in-place and social distancing orders, our economy and businesses are still working towards recovery from the previous year. Our continued response to COVID-19 has been more than commendable, and we have been successful with old and now younger residents getting vaccinated and with boosters, being cautious in our encounters with each other, wearing face masks, and staying socially distant. These actions have been especially important with the spread of the COVID-19 Delta variant. This caution and care has been key to slowing the spread and ensuring our healthcare systems are able to treat those most vulnerable to the virus. Now we're going to talk about planning for the future. In the last year, the Millbrae City Council and city staff have done much to bolster and continue the successes prior to the pandemic. This year, the City Council reauthorized a revised scope of work for the general plan, the Downtown and El Camino Real specific plan, our housing element update, and our active transportation plan, creating the streetscape Grand Boulevard vision for El Camino Real and Broadway. Now this sounds really dry, but this is the framework of your city. This included conducting a joint City Council Planning Commission study session in June and November of 2021. These plans are incredibly important in authorizing and allocating of staff and financial resources in identifying the needs in growing our community and developing specific goals and policies to support the appropriate development of our transportation systems, housing, and our economy. In addition, these plans will better position Millbrae to receive regional, state, and national grant funding. For example, this past April, the city was successful in applying for and obtaining a $150,000 grant from the State of California Department of Housing and Community Development to help with this effort. One of the key efforts already initiated from these reauthorizations has been the approval of an amendment to the Millbrae Station Area Specific Plan to permit biosafety Level 2 life sciences uses in the designated areas near the Millbrae Intermodal Station. We now have several life science projects in the construction pipeline slated for approval in early 2022. This is important in providing appropriate office and research space to growing industries that further expand Millbrae's job sector and the Millbrae economy. This past year, we have also continued construction of major projects, including the Gateway at Millbrae Station. And all of you know that. Those are those tall buildings down by the station. Building permits have been issued for 4 new offices, a hotel, retail space, and residential buildings at the Gateway site. Construction began and continued through the pandemic. Completion of the Gateway at Millbrae Station is expected in mid to late 2022. Additional projects at the site are currently under review. Together, these projects are creating robust opportunities for new housing, new industries next to the Millbrae Intermodal Transit Station, and will combine housing and jobs in one place. It'll also provide drastically needed revenue streams to the city of Millbrae. Now let's talk about housing. To further support housing development in Millbrae in the past year, the City Council adopted a series of comprehensive, affordable housing regulations. These included affordable housing on-site and in lieu fee requirements ordinance, and an affordable housing commercial linkage impact fee ordinance as zoning code amendments, and an associated resolution adopting affordable housing requirements and program regulations. Now this sounds really dry, but these requirements are important for Millbrae's future growth as they mandate inclusionary affordable housing for low and moderate income households in conjunction with new development. These requirements will mitigate the impacts of residential projects on the need for affordable housing by increasing the supply of affordable housing to a broad range of households and income levels. These new regulations will require 15% of affordable units to be built on site as part of private development projects and allocate fees from these projects to help create more affordable housing in Millbrae. We want people at all income levels to enjoy living here in Millbrae. This year, the City Council also approved $2.8 million from the city's Affordable Housing Fund to support the creation of 24 very low and 55 low-income units to qualified veterans of the United States military. This is really exciting. And still, the city is working to implement ordinances and guidelines in cooperation with state housing laws that remove parts of the public approval process and will inadvertently make housing more expensive in Millbrae. As you can hear, we are investing a great deal of time and resources into helping make Millbrae a true mixed-use community that supports a variety of industries and jobs. I am proud to have been mayor while this work was completed, as it has set Millbrae on a course to compete for businesses and economic opportunities that have often gone to our neighbors in the past. The meat and bones of Millbrae, infrastructure. This includes water, sewer, stormwater. In addition to the investments we've made for the future of our economy, we have continued to make great strides in bringing our vital infrastructure up to modern standards. With the financial impact of COVID-19, previously approved water rate increases were again delayed in 2021. As you know, these increases were necessary to pay for the upgrades needed for our water system and pay for increased cost from our water wholesaler, that's San Francisco Public Utilities Commission. As the pandemic hurt many of us, we approved the necessary delays in these rate increases to give our community some reprieve during these tough times. Even so, we achieved another major milestone for our water system with the installation of new water mains around the Gateway project, and this project was paid for by the Gateway project. Our Public Works team worked with Preston Pipeline to install a new 8-inch PVC water main from Aviador Avenue across Millbrae Avenue, completing the loop around the new development. Early next year, Millbrae's water, sewer, storm rate study will be presented to City Council. This study will provide a better understanding of the current state of our water and sewer systems and what needs to be done to keep progress moving on the replacement of our very aged pipelines and water mains. During this time, our Public Works teams will continue to assess water mains throughout the city and monitor them closely. Last year, we had completed the design of the Broadway water main project, but the construction was put on hold to accommodate outdoor dining on Broadway. This now, though, gives us the opportunity to include new streetscape work to create a comprehensive remodel of Broadway, including lessons learned during the pandemic about our public's enjoyment of outdoor dining and outdoor events, and get that into the plan. Ultimately, when this work is completed over the next several years, we will have a more vibrant and inclusive downtown. While the Broadway water main project was on hold, we began the design of various locations of water main replacement throughout the city. This project will replace some of the oldest and most problematic water mains in the city, and at locations where paving is scheduled to occur. Critical for our water supply and our emergency response to fire and earthquakes is the Skyline water tank replacement project that has also completed its final design and is out in the bidding process. 2 aged steel water tanks are being replaced with one larger concrete tank that will be more seismically reliable and requires far less maintenance. Construction on the water tank has started and is scheduled to be completed by the end of 2022. This will increase our water delivery capacity and give further disaster protection from earthquakes and fires. And if you're up on Sawyer Camp Road, you can see the tanks off on your left. Since the beginning of 2021 through September, the city has inspected 118 sewer laterals, 8 miles of sewer mains, repaired 44 sewer main points, cleaned 25 miles of sewer pipe, and in coordination with private property owners, replaced 66 sewer laterals. The city is also currently in design process to replace 1.7 miles of sewer lines in the Hillcrest subbasin. This is exciting stuff, I know. Now let's talk about stormwater. As many of you may know, the city experienced significant flooding in 2 areas during our first major rainstorm on October 23rd and 24th. The atmospheric river dumped over 5 inches of rain in just over 24 hours. This is much needed rain, and the city would have had no issue except for 2 critical storm drain systems maintained by SFO and the city of Burlingame. Both of them failed. The major flooding at Millbrae Avenue and Highway 101 was due to a malfunction of the Cohen pump station in the city of Burlingame, which they are required to operate and maintain. The Burlingame pump station malfunctioned, stormwater was not flowing, and thus Millbrae Avenue flooded. The good news is the pump station has been repaired and should prevent flooding during our next series of storms. The Landing Lane neighborhood also experienced flooding, but I am happy to report that there was no significant property damage or flooding within the residents themselves. There was flooding in a few garages, but again, nothing major. Our crews were helping residents with sandbags to assist in preventing flooding of the homes and the garages. The flooding on Landing Lane was due to inadequate flow within the SFO drainage canals and a capacity issue such that there was so much rain and the drainage coming through the area from a major portion of Millbrae and San Bruno that SFO's drainage canals and basins between Landing Lane and Highway 101 could not handle such a large amount of rain flow. Approximately 85% of the city's entire storm drain system runs through Landing Lane to the city's pump stations. SFO is required to maintain the canals such that the flow of stormwater doesn't back up and flood our neighborhoods. The city is currently working with SFO to remediate this problem. City staff works 24 hours a day to maintain our infrastructure and are on call during times like the atmospheric river and the high tides that caused the October 2021 flooding. This work is incredibly important, and I want to thank our Public Works Department and all of its teams for getting this work completed and for being out there while we were safer in our homes on that windy, rainy Sunday. They often go unnoticed, but their work is critical in maintaining our quality of life. If you see them out on the street, please say hello and thank them. This past year, Public Works Department also continued its success in achieving the city's water pollution reduction goals. At the Water Pollution Control Plant, out by 101, we continue to meet our discharge permit requirements and have completed the preliminary design on the nearshore outfall restoration project and performed conditional assessments on our anaerobic digester. I want to give, at this point, a special thanks to Congresswoman Jackie Spear. This past year, she helped the city secure $800,000 in design funding for the Millbrae Water Recycling Project. This project will modify the existing Millbrae Water Pollution Control Plant and develop a revamped water recycling facility and distribution system. This recycled water will be an alternative water source for outdoor use, and it will reduce our reliance on the Hetch Hetchy regional water supply, leaving that for people to drink. In addition, the city applied for a planning grant and is expected to begin our work with neighboring cities, San Francisco Airport, BART, and Caltrains, to identify opportunities to collaborate and identify alternate water sources. In addition to the great success in our water and sewer systems this past year, we have also had great success in improving our roads and transit corridors. Around this time last year, the city started construction on the new trail at the Josephine Waugh Park, as well as the pedestrian and bicycle improvements between the transit center and the spur trail. This project has now been completed and landscaping has been restored. And if you haven't, please come to the park on Hill's Crest and look at this park. The new trail has revived the park and added valuable outdoor recreation space to the area. During the work, a flashing beacon and a curb extension was installed mid-block along Hillcrest Boulevard to provide a much-needed traffic calming solution for pedestrians and bicyclists. The city is also testing a new type of grass for all our parks. It's called 1090 fescue that significantly reduces the use of water. A new sign explaining the advantages of this grass has recently been installed at the park. If the 1090 fescue works well, in time, this water-saving grass can be introduced to other city parks. The City Council just approved new playground equipment for Central Park, and installation should be completed prior to the grand opening of the new recreation center. Other revitalization projects are also underway at Monterey Park and Bayside Manor Park. This year, our engineering team worked with a traffic engineer consultant to develop a Class 4 cycle track along East Millbrae Avenue, crossing 101 overpass. The project includes the design of 2.5 miles of new bicycle and pedestrian pathways, consisting of bidirectional bike path throughout Millbrae, east of El Camino Real, and bridging the missing gaps from San Bruno city limits to the existing Monterey Trail and to the transit center. Also this year, the city won funding to prepare a local roadway safety plan, which will help us improve the safety and conditions of our roads. As part of this plan, Millbrae Citywide Engineering and Traffic Survey was completed, and we adopted this past June. The actual plan is in its final stage of development and is scheduled to be reviewed and adopted by City Council. The completed plan will put the city in a better position to receive outside funding for critical safety projects. Early this year, the city received a transportation fund for clean air grant, an award of $89,000 to construct traffic calming measures at the intersections of Millbrae Avenue and Poplar Avenue, and at the intersection of Tioga Drive and Helen Drive. This project has completed design phase and is out to bid. This fall, we received additional grants to work on traffic calming projects on Park Boulevard and Santa Teresa, and for crossings on the west side of the Millbrae Intermodal train station. Combined, these are important measures in helping us make our streets safer for everyone. As the Millbrae community begins to re-engage physically, we are taking the learnings from the COVID-19 pandemic into new ways of thinking and living. The environment is certainly one key piece. More people are recognizing how our behaviors intertwine with the environment and are stepping up to take action. We have begun implementing the measures outlined in our climate action plan to reduce greenhouse gases in our city operations and in the broader Millbrae community. The Disposable Food Serviceware Ordinance was adopted last February, and we have been engaging with our local businesses and community to educate and inform them on this new ordinance. Starting in January, the new statewide Organics Out of Landfill law goes into effect, keeping food and plant waste out of landfills. This is an action each of us can take to reduce methane releases. Methane is a much stronger greenhouse gas than CO2, so this is something we can all do our part. This same law will require restaurants and markets to send at least 20% of their leftover human edible food to food banks to distribute to the 1 in 4 Californians that go hungry every day. As you know, in-person events were limited during COVID, so some of our annual activities went virtual and were limited to small group activities such as Earth Day and Arbor Day. This year, we had people practice good environmental stewardship from their own homes and go out with their immediate family to help do their part at parks and around the neighborhood. Thankfully, though, as the year progressed, we were able to hold Pollution Prevention Week and Coastal Cleanup Day in person and provide environmental information and answer local environmental questions during several city events such as National Night Out, the Art and Wine Festival, and our series called Beets and Brews and Vines. We, the Millbrae community, also planted our first monarch pollinator demonstration garden to both help monarch butterflies survive by planting milkweed and to also help the public learn more about plants that support pollinators like butterflies and bees. The new garden is located in front of the community garden at Central Park. And I want to give a big shout out to our mayors for the day, Emmeline and Cooper, who did the first shovel and planted plants along with many other community volunteers. I am grateful to all of you. As California continues to go through a drought, we have continued our efforts in water conservation outreach and various programs. This includes completing the state-mandated annual water loss audit and continuing a water loss program for reviewing water loss procedures and testing meters. We also participate in the Lawn Be Gone rebate program to replace lawns with native and drought-tolerant plants. Give the city a call if you want to do this at your house. In addition, we provided rebates to residents who added rain gardens and rain barrels to their homes. In late 2019, the City Council approved a schematic design of the future Millbrae Recreation Center and changed the project delivery method from traditional design bid build to design build to maintain the project budget and the timeline. The rebuild project is currently 70% complete following the foundation pouring and the framing earlier this year. Currently, work in progress includes the roof, the exterior windows and door framing, interior utilities, and interior wall framing. The building is watertight and the stucco and stonework on the exterior looks fantastic. You need to go look at our new recreation center. Currently, the Lincoln Circle parking lot is being demolished for renovation and overall site improvements. This has been a long process, but we are continuing to move the project forward and continue to look for funding wherever possible. Thank you, Millbrae Community Foundation, for your help in us raising additional funds for furniture, fixture, and equipment, $1.75 million, that will go towards furniture in the new rec center, but also artwork and the plants that will go around it, and my favorite, the new specimen trees that will shade the new patios being built. If you're interested in donating to the project, please go to Millbrae Community Foundation or Millbrae Recreation Park website, and it'll tell you how you can donate to these very, very important things to add to our recreation center. I want to assure you that this project is worth your time and the city's investment. The old recreation center was built to accommodate a much smaller Millbrae population and was a heavily used focal point. And that is why it has to come back better, more efficient, and with more space. Not only for you and those who live here today, but for those who will look to call Millbrae home in the future. I'm very proud of the work of our recreation department. Each month, they spend a great deal of time planning and managing events and activities so that all of Millbrae's residents have a higher quality of life. Even through the pandemic, they went above and beyond to ensure these programs continued. As many children felt socially isolated this past year, our recreation department hosted the Drive-Through Spring Bunny and the Drive-Through Santa events to help build a sense of seasonal connection while staying safe and socially distant. With the support of the Rotary Club of Millbrae, every child that drove through received a free spring bag and a box of See's candy during the Spring Bunny event and a free mug of hot cocoa during the Santa event. With the rise of the Delta variant, the city and the Millbrae Lions Halloween Monster March also converted to a drive-through, and we celebrated by providing over 500 bags of nut-free candy to the children of Millbrae. While not as grand as in the past, these events made a huge difference in the lives of the children that did participate. The same can be said about Millbrae Goes to the Movies. This past year, the city worked with local property owners to identify new ways to continue the movies as a drive-in style experience. Once COVID restrictions were eased, we once again hosted At the Movies at Central Park. But it wasn't only those events. It was Beets and Brews and Vines on Broadway, the numerous adult and youth sports and summer camps, distance learning support, and after-school activities for kids. Our recreation staff did so much this past year and went above and beyond to support our community during some of the most trying times of our lives. This was especially true for our community's senior citizens. They were fed through the Self-Help for the Elderly meal delivery program. They were provided support through the Senior Helpline. And they connected with each other through senior stories and birthday wishes. This year, recreation staff and the city's senior advisory committee stepped up to ensure some of our most vulnerable residents were cared for. We are all truly grateful for them and their work. This past year, we also saw many changes with our police and fire services. The San Mateo County Sheriff's Captain Paul Kunkel retired from the department. He had served the city of Millbrae for a little over 2 years, and we thank him for his service and his leadership. Replacing him was Sheriff's Captain Christina Corpus. Chief Corpus comes to us with more than 19 years of experience as an officer. She is focused on helping our community better address homelessness, continue to reduce burglaries and auto crimes, and address the way our officers interact with people with mental health disorders. Under her leadership, the Millbrae Police Bureau has continued to host a series of community events to better engage with and understand the needs of local residents and businesses, such as Coffee with the Chief and City Manager, and National Night Out. In addition, the Police Bureau has continued to participate in our annual tree lighting ceremony, the Lunar New Year Parade, Beats and Brews and Vines on Broadway, Millbrae Goes to the Movie, and many, many other events we host each year. The city continues to experience issues with the transients and the unhoused due to BART. Millbrae is an end-of-the-line station, and BART sweeps the homeless from their trains into Millbrae with no solution. We continue to pressure BART to be part of the solution. The City Council authorized an increase in the city's budget, money that could otherwise have gone to civic improvements such as roads, to fund 2 social workers through a partnership with Life Moves and San Mateo County to assist the unhoused and transient population ending up in Millbrae as a result of BART. Due to the increase in crime as a result of this issue, the city added 1 additional sheriff deputy 5 days a week to patrol downtown Millbrae. From everyone who lives, works, and plays in Millbrae, we thank Chief Corpus and all the deputies and support staff for their work to protect and serve us. This past year, we continue to survive and thrive through the COVID-19 pandemic, and we have come to the point where restrictions have eased due to our high vaccination rates and relatively low hospitalization rates. While we see many good times and bright spots ahead, we must continue to take the necessary steps to slow the spread of COVID-19 and its variants by washing our hands, wearing face coverings, staying socially distant when we are not feeling well, and importantly, getting vaccinated. Everyone on the City Council and behind the doors at City Hall take great pride in their service to everyone in Millbrae, and we are working diligently each day to ensure our city runs smoothly and effectively. We are all working for you, and thank you for putting your trust in us. Thank you for allowing me to serve as your mayor, and thank you for joining this year's State of the City address.